Have you ever seen a place so unreal it feels like you're on another planet? A place where the sky isn't just above you, but it's also right under your feet? Well, that place exists. It's the Salar de Uyuni in Bolivia. But the stunningly beautiful landscape is hiding a secret that's powering our modern world, and it comes with a seriously high price.
Okay, just look at this. This is what happens during the rainy season. A thin layer of water covers the salt, and boom, it becomes the world's largest mirror. The line between the ground and the sky just vanishes. It creates this endless, surreal horizon. You can see why photographers and travelers are absolutely obsessed with this place.
I mean, this quote from a visitor really says it all. Imagine standing there with the sky above you and the sky below you. It's got to be one of the most awe-inspiring and honestly kind of trippy experiences you can have on Earth.
So first up, let's just take a moment to understand what makes this mirror in the sky so special, beyond the incredible photos.
The sheer size of it is just mind-boggling. We're talking about more than 10,000 square kilometers. That makes it the biggest salt flat on the entire planet. In fact, it's so huge and so perfectly flat that NASA, that NASA, actually uses it to calibrate their satellites from space.
So how in the world did this giant salt desert get here in the first place? Well, for that, we have to rewind the clock way, way back.
Okay, so picture this. About 40,000 years ago, this whole area was a massive prehistoric lake called Lake Minchin. Over thousands and thousands of years, the climate changed, the lake evaporated, and it left behind this super thick crust of salt. We're talking up to 10 meters deep in some spots. That ancient cycle of water and sun is what created the landscape we see today.
Now, you might look at it and think it's completely barren, right? Just salt and sky. But believe it or not, it's a really important and fragile ecosystem. It's a major breeding ground for flamingos. They flock to these mineral-rich lagoons. It all depends on this very delicate balance of salt and the little bit of fresh water that manages to exist there.
But here's the twist. The same geology that created this incredible wonder also hid something else. Right under that bright white crust is a resource that our modern world absolutely cannot get enough of. Something that connects this remote spot in Bolivia to the very device you might be watching this on.
And no, we're not talking about table salt. What's hiding under the surface is a whole lot more valuable in today's world.
We're talking about lithium. It's a super lightweight metal, and it's the magic ingredient in the rechargeable batteries that power pretty much everything. Your phone, your laptop, and, this is the big one, the electric vehicles that are supposed to be driving our green energy future. It's so valuable, they're calling it the new white gold.
And here's the kicker. It's estimated that the reservoirs under Salar de Uyuni hold up to 70% of the entire world's known lithium reserves. Let that sink in for a second. The vast majority of this critical global resource is concentrated right here under this one salt flat.
Now, lithium isn't the only thing down there. The brine is also full of potassium for fertilizers and boron for things like glass. And of course, local communities have been harvesting the salt for centuries. But let's be real, it's the massive global demand for lithium that is changing everything for this place.
But all this incredible wealth comes with a huge problem. Getting this white gold out of the ground is a very, very thirsty business, and it's all happening in one of the driest places on Earth.
So how do they even get it? Well, the method is pretty straightforward. First, they pump enormous amounts of that salty brine up from underground. Then they pour it into these giant, shallow pools that stretch for miles. And then they just wait. For months, the intense, high-altitude sun beats down and evaporates the water, leaving behind a mineral-rich sludge that they can then process for lithium.
But here's the insane cost of that process. To produce just a single ton of lithium, it's estimated that 2 million liters of water are evaporated, just gone, poof, into the dry desert air, permanently removed from the ecosystem.
And this is where you really see the two worlds colliding. On one side, you have the natural wonder of the Salar, with its iconic pink flamingos chilling in their lagoons. And on the other, you have the industrial reality, these sprawling, artificial, strangely colored evaporation pools that scar the landscape. It's a pretty stark contrast.
So, what does all this water use mean for the people who actually live there? Well, it puts the lithium industry in direct competition with their way of life. The local indigenous communities need that scarce fresh water for farming quinoa and raising llamas.
And the tourism industry, which depends on those beautiful flamingo lagoons, is at risk as the wetlands that the birds need are starting to dry up.
So you see, this puts Bolivia and this incredible natural paradise at a major crossroads. It's a battle between economic progress and environmental survival, and it has deep, deep historical roots.
To really understand what's at stake, you have to look at Bolivia's painful history. For centuries, its natural resources have been exploited by outsiders. From the Spanish silver mines in the 16th century that were brutal and deadly, to the tin mines of the 20th century that made foreign companies rich while leaving the country poor. So the huge question now is, will the lithium boom be any different? Or is it just history repeating itself?
And this quote really cuts to the heart of the dilemma inside Bolivia itself. The country's own constitution recognizes the indigenous idea of vivir bien, which means to live well in harmony with nature, and it even gives rights to Mother Earth. But the big government push to mine lithium seems to fly right in the face of those values. It's a deep conflict for the soul of the nation.
So here's the paradox we're left with. The lithium from this beautiful place is seen as essential for a green future, for building the electric cars that could help save the planet from climate change. But creating that green future for us might mean destroying this fragile paradise and threatening the people who have called it home for generations. It leaves us with a really tough question. What price is just too high to pay?